August 6 marks Bolivia's 200th anniversary of independence. For these, several commemorative events are on the way throughout the nation. President of Brazil, Luis Inácio da Silva, announced on Tuesday that he will invite the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to the United Nations Climate Change Conference to be held on November 2025. Israeli occupation killed 23 Palestinians in its latest strikes against the Gaza Strip, as authorities registered nearly 200 people dead due to starvation. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. This Wednesday, August 6, marks Bolivia's 200th anniversary of independence. For these, several commemorative events are on the way throughout the nation. In an oral session at the House of Liberty, the President of the plurinational state, Luis Arce, stressed the importance of unity to continue building on the conquest achieved by independence heroes and the people. The Bolivian President warned against division, stressing that only united would Bolivians prevent a return to neoliberal models. For his part, Vice President David Choquehuanca addressed the continued struggle to decolonize Republican thinking that drives the nation away from the plurinational system. Brothers and sisters, from the awareness, from the roots of the great majorities, we must acknowledge that the war for independence did not make us independent and free to all. The plurinational state, colonial, racist, and throughout centuries did not manage to solve the basic issues of the majorities of the national territory. And Bolivians have been celebrating the bicentennial since the start of the month on Wednesday. Events started with the raising of the flag in the state capital of Sucre, in the department of Chuquisaca, where thousands headed by President Luis Arce gathered at the historic Plaza 25 de Mayo in front of Casa de la Libertad. Afterwards, the head of state received a formal greeting from the international delegations present. Later in the day, significant cultural activities will unfold, including a concert by the Youth Symphony Orchestra of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And in this context, the government of Venezuela sent heartfelt congratulations to the sister nation of Bolivia in its bicentennial of independence. Through an official statement, the Bolivarian government extended its warmest greetings to the government and people of the plurinational state of Bolivia. The greeting highlights how this founding act was the fruit of the unwavering courage of the indigenous peoples, of brave women and men who rose up against colonialism. The communique follows by stating Bolivia has been an example of resistance, dignity, and rebellion, building its destiny from the hands of a conscious and sovereign people. In its closing remarks, the Venezuelan government reaffirms its commitment to the unity of our peoples and to the libertarian ideals that unite us. And we stay in Venezuela as government representative laid a wreath at the National Pantheon in Caracas in the framework of the bicentennial of Bolivia's independence. Present at the ceremony were Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace Diosdado Cabello, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino, among other authorities. The tribute to the South American country was laid in front of the sarcophagus of the father of the nation, Liberator Simón Bolívar, an offering that highlights the strong historical bonds of unity, respect, and fraternity between both countries. In other news, the President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, offered on Tuesday a balance of economic and social achievements during his 3 years in office. During his speech, the Colombian President highlighted the advances in the education and health sectors, as well as the low inflation and poverty indexes. Likewise, President Petro denounced the media censorship of presidential speeches and activities, a censorship that responds to the interests of groups of the Colombian oligarchy. In this sense, the head of state condemned the questioning of the country's justice system after the sentence against former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez for the crimes of procedural fraud and bribery of witnesses.
They did not recover. It was to Duca's friends in Avianca. In the press, El Tiempo, RCN, that is why they applaud Uribe. That is why they are not even able to mention or respect justice. They disrespect it every day, saying that Uribe should not be in jail. I am not going to get into that, nor am I going to say yes or no. But justice is respected in Colombia. And in the United States, Colombians who go there to destroy justice in Colombia, traitors to the homeland, not opposition, and opposition does not have that indignity. Let them defend themselves in the courts. They have the right as the one, and the judges should be free of what they decide, completely free. Not judges with fear, not judges thinking that they are going to be killed, or kneeling before the networks and in the press insinuate that they are going to be killed for doing justice in Colombia. So we will all kill each other, because for peace there has to be justice, and there will be peace in Colombia, whatever its decisions are, which this president will respect.
Furthermore, the Colombian president condemned the censorship by the media of presidential speeches and activities, depriving citizens of their right to information from diverse sources.
So, to become independent from power, and so that the power does not speak alone, now it is the turn of the President of the Republic to speak as well, who is censored every day, as it happened with the great, beautiful cultural act, one of the best that has been presented in Colombia in its history, in the 500 years of Santa Marta, which commemorates not the conqueror, not Bastidas, but the 100 years of resistance that arose with Bastidas, the indigenous people who later turned into the people of Bolívar, and who then, instead of conquest, speak of freedom. They censor all that. They censor the act of Santa Marta. They censor the president. But these speeches serve to put our point of view, to make the citizenship discern and make decisions. And this speech then has to do with the presentation of data. The press also censored it. Some few showed up on July 20th at the Congress, but they preferred to talk about junk and to make bad accounts than to talk about the real evaluations of the government.
We have our first break coming up. Remember, then join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. You'll find news in different formats and news updates. We're going to be right back. Welcome back. The President of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, announced on Tuesday that he will invite by telephone the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The conference is scheduled for November in the Brazilian city of Belém, Pará. The invitation seeks to know Trump's position on climate change, although Lula clarified that he will not address the tariffs imposed by the U.S. on Brazilian exports set at 50%, which have generated bilateral tensions. The U.S. tariffs have generated criticism from Lula, who accused Trump of crossing all limits by interfering in Brazil's internal affairs. The former president of Peru, Pedro Castillo, announced the creation of the Electoral Alliance Together with the People for the elections of the year 2026. The official presentation is scheduled for Sunday, August 17th at 11 a.m. local time in the central square of Guayacan. The coalition arises in the framework of the preparations for the 2026 general elections in Peru, where the political forces seek to strengthen their representation. Together for Peru, a party with a track record in previous electoral processes, associates with All with the People, linked to Castillo, who held the presidency between 2021 and 2022. And in Nicaragua, the National Assembly approved the border territory law, which determines the safeguarding of the borders to prevent crimes committed by organized crime and international drug trafficking. With urgency and 91 votes in favor, the Nicaraguan legislative body unanimously approved the border territory law to strengthen its sovereignty and guarantee peace, security, and territorial integrity. The initiative defines that the border territory is property of the state, limited 15 kilometers from the borderline towards the interior of the country to prevent external threats and to confront crimes that threaten the security of Nicaraguan families, strengthening the legal framework for the defense of the interests of the people.
The
approval of the border territory law is fundamental to guarantee the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security of Nicaragua by establishing a clearly delimited area of 15 kilometers from the conventional border. The state reaffirms its control over an essential strategic zone to prevent external interference in illicit activities such as money laundering, drug trafficking, and human trafficking. This does not affect any Nicaraguan who is established in the zone. He continues to be established, he continues to develop his normal life, but this is a zone controlled by the Nicaraguan state to ensure the peace, security, and territorial integrity of all Nicaraguans.
Mexican armed forces recently deployed troops to Jalisco, disembarking at Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla International Airport. The aim of this deployment is to help curb criminal activity in the region as part of a broader strategy by Mexico to confront organized crime in several states, including Jalisco, using its military forces. The Mexican government has deployed troops across several states to bolster public security due to the lack of capacity of local police forces to address the militarized criminal groups. This deployment in Jalisco aligns with similar increases of soldiers in other violence-affected regions, such as Sinaloa, where the troop presence has passed 11,000 amid escalating cartel conflicts. And rescuers were scouring a devastated Himalayan village in northern India to find dozens of missing people a day after flash floods killed at least 4 and left many others trapped under the debris. Floodwaters triggered by intense rains gushed down the narrow mountains Tuesday into Darali, a mountain village in Uttarakhand state, sweeping away homes, roads, and a local market. Teams of Army and Disaster Force rescuers were searching for dozens, including at least 11 Indian Army soldiers who are believed to be trapped under the rubble. Authorities said rescue workers had recovered 4 bodies by Wednesday, but the search remains underway. And in the Philippines, a massive fire broke out on the morning of August 6 in a densely populated area of Tondo, Manila. Thick black smoke was seen billowing into the sky as flames rapidly engulfed the tightly packed residential neighborhood. The fire affected 172 families, displacing 435 individuals, and led to the destruction of 30 homes. Many of the evacuees have been moved to the Barangay 93 covered court for shelter. Local authorities and the Department of Social Welfare and Development responded swiftly, distributing $4,485 worth of food and relief supplies to the affected families. The incident highlights the ongoing risks faced by Manila's urban poor, as Tondo's makeshift housing and narrow alleyways contributes to frequent and devastating fires. We now have our second and final short break coming up. We invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Israeli occupation killed 23 Palestinians in its latest strikes against the Gaza Strip. Moreover, authorities registered nearly 200 people dead due to starvation. Early Wednesday, at least 5 civilians were killed and more than 40 others wounded after the Zionist regime attacked several humanitarian workers north of Rafah. Another bombing of a house in the Nusrat camp claimed the life of 5 people, including a woman and 2 children. These attacks come after Israeli forces killed at least 83 people on Tuesday, including 58 aid workers. Amid the Israeli genocidal offensive, medical sources reported that 5 people died from hunger and malnutrition in the last 24 hours. And in Lebanon, the Hezbollah resistance movement rejected the U.S. government's plan to dismantle 50% of the Lebanese resistance infrastructure. The Secretary General of Hezbollah resistance movement, Sheikh Naim Qassem, warned that the project promoted by the Trump administration envoy aims to grant strategic advantages to Israel, denouncing that this constitutes a direct attack against national sovereignty. Qassem denounced that Washington's proposal calls for the dismantling of Hezbollah's defensive capabilities in just 30 days, in exchange for the alleged partial Israeli withdrawal from 3 Lebanese areas. Hezbollah condemned that while Beirut calls for the disarmament of the resistance, Israeli bulldozers are fortifying military sites in the region. And citizens in Lebanon took to the streets in southern Beirut to demonstrate their support for the Hezbollah resistance movement. Lebanese reaffirmed their commitment to the struggle against the Israeli occupation and in defense of Lebanon's sovereignty. Citizens rejected the genocidal actions of the Zionist regime of Israel against the Palestinian people that has left thousands of dead and displaced, most of them women and children. This march reflects the growing popular support for the resistance forces amid the increasing escalation on the southern border of Lebanon, where Hezbollah has responded to Israel's aggressions. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency session on Tuesday to discuss the worsening humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip. The meeting was requested by the Israeli occupation and supported by the United States and the United Kingdom and France. During the session, there was a double narrative, one promoted by Western powers to prioritize the return of Israeli captives, and another supported by multiple nations that highlighted the genocidal campaign waged by the Israeli occupation against more than 2 million besieged Palestinians. In this context, the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, reiterated his call for a ceasefire and the opening of border crossings. And the United States President Donald Trump pointed out that he would not oppose to Israel's plans to take over Gaza. In recent statements to the press, the head of state assured that his main worries are on the people in Gaza receiving food, while on the potential occupation he manifested it was going to be up to Israel. This way, Trump reaffirmed his stance as Washington continues providing millions of dollars in military aid to Israel, an arms supply that has significantly increased since October 2023. The Zionist army currently occupies 86% of the Palestinian territory, while the enclave's decimated population face daily attacks and a grave famine. And Kremlin's press office informed that dialogue will prevail after the meeting between the White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Russia's President Vladimir Putin. 3 hours after the meeting, Kirill Dmitriev, the Russian presidency's special representative of economic cooperation between foreign countries, spoke and thanked the effort for making this meeting possible. The gathering took place 2 days before the imposed deadline by the United States President Donald Trump, in which he demanded Moscow to stop the military campaign in Ukraine or face new sanctions. According to the Kremlin, it's the 5th gathering between Putin and Witkoff so far this year, but without achieving a conclusive ceasefire in Ukraine. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.